Hey, welcome to Yellow Skunk Farms, everybody. Quick disclaimer, this is a 21-year-old and up channel, so if you're not 21, please leave the channel now. Appreciate it. We are in day 31 of flower, and this is day 7 of the complete reset. So if this is your first time to the channel, well, you might want to see the pond first and see what we got going on here. This is a 150, 170-ish gallon fish and turtle pond. We have Cooter and Scooter and Pooter down in here somewhere. Oh, there's Scooter. And there's Pooter. These are goldfish. And it looks like Cooter is back behind the log there. But this creek, pond has a one pump, pumps water up into a creek system that runs through the garden bed, where that water is wicked up into the soil pockets, just like in nature, using the sand and the silt and the clay that comes up from the creek. You can see the worm. We just replenished all of that with fresh stuff, and it's already been turned into worm castings. It happens really fast. Now that the bed is set up and got so much life in it, it just turns this sand and silt. Look at this. All that was that color. This was that. Just extended up. And look how it has been turned into worm castings now. They are just running through it as fast as I can put it down, just about. This water is wicked up by this stuff. Just stays moist all the time. And it's been 7 days since we did a complete reset. We had a, well, yeah, I'll say we had a full crash. And what happened was is that I was paying more attention to these flowers up here than I was the creek and the system as a whole, and I was adding in these deep reds, and my mistake was adding in too much deep red light while I was removing the white light. So I basically removed the white light and added in the deep red and left it on all day for about 2 days actually, and cooked everything in the creek. It was not pretty. I lost all my algae, all my cyanobacteria that creates oxygen in the water down in here through the creek. The algae that catches all the poo and catches and traps everything. All my shrimp. There's a good looking shrimp though. That's a good sign. And I see another one right over here, a baby one. Yes. Great sign. So we had hundreds of those in here. They all died. Now we're back to snails. You can see the little black dots. Those are all snails. So snails are usually the first. We did put shrimp in here, but the shrimp multiplied, because the system was doing great. Now we crashed the system, but now they got to remultiply, and they will. Just part of the cleanup crew. So what we did was add fresh sand, silt, and clay into the system. Fresh sand, silt on the edges, and the red light killed off all the cyanobacteria. Along with, that wasn't the only factor, I don't think, because we hadn't replenished in quite a while. So the worms left because there was no food left. They came into the soil more than they were on the edge of the creek, which basically made it, the edge of the creek, become anaerobic because it wasn't being aerated. So the worms aerate the edges of the creek along with the isopods. They produce the worm castings. It's what turns everything into black. So it goes from sandy color to the black color. Those are worm castings. But if you get piled up too many worm castings, what you end up with is mud. And mud doesn't breathe. And we don't breathe, everything goes to crap. Toxins build up, everything just crashes. does exactly what it did. The flowers over here now are still looking, droopy, overwatered, mainly because we're not getting any air in the system. If we could have all the water in the world down here if we wanted to, as long as we aerating it and oxygenation is happening down in the soil. If we've got bacteria in the soil creating oxygen for us, we don't have any worries. When they're not there, we get droopy, we get overwatered plants, okay? So one way we can get around saturated soil is by making sure that the soil has the bacteria and the microorganisms in it to produce its own oxygen. It can produce its own nitrogen. It can produce all these elements on its own down in the soil profile. That's how nature works without humans messing with it. You can see that our buds are getting bigger. I can tell a difference just from yesterday. I can tell a big difference from yesterday. And they're not browning on the tips. The leaves look bad, but the buds look great. And they're really starting to frost up too, really starting to get a good, funky, fruity smell actually. Almost burnt rubbery-ish, like a really heavy burnt rubber fruit. Quite great. These are raspberry deadheads. Raspberry OG times lunar cheese, I believe. Which has got some UK cheese. It's from Luna Whitcomb. Luna all day on Instagram. On Instagram. Beautiful flowers, just huge plant. This one over here is the Orangeline from OK Calyx. This one, like I said, this one's took a hit. They don't look as pretty, but the flower looks pretty good. So we got a piece of hair or dog hair on there, but this one's been ahead of everything. The flowers look pretty good. This one's got a oh wow, that does have a cherry kind of orangey flavor going on here. Totally different from that. Totally different. Do a different finger. Take that nasty looking leaf off of there too, but oh wow, yeah, that is some terpy stuff right there. This run is going to be probably really good flower. The plants are going to look like crap because we crashed the system, but that crash is going to probably produce the stress that these flowers probably going to react to and push some serious terps because they were under stress. What is that guy? What is that? A little fly, a little house fly, no big deal. So we're probably going to see some really good stuff. It's just going to not look pretty. This is her lunar cheese. Let's see if I can get a different finger here. That's the lunar cheese, yeah. It's very flat. What I mean by that is it's very, like compared to that where it's just pow right in your face. This is more of a still earthy, piney kind of like a stale milk almost. I guess that's where the cheese comes from. Weird. And this one's just starting to flower. This one's been behind. I probably should just cut this out. It's going to be so far behind, but you never know. We'll just let it go until we get to the point, but it's finally starting to throw. This will probably be the best one in flower, but it'll probably take an extra 2 weeks, in which we aren't going to do. I'm not going to just grow this plant for 2 weeks just to get that little bit of flower. And I'm going to have to harvest all of this. I probably won't even have room for that. But anyway, this is the another raspberry deadhead. What is that on the flower there? Geez, something dropped off something up there. That one looks a little burnt, but this one doesn't. So these are all raspberry deadheads. You can see some of our algae growing, coming back. That green patch you see there, see that green, dark green patches? That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. That's the algae that's good. You want that algae in there. I want it to come all the way up onto the thing here, but we're gonna have to go get some more sand and silt because the worms are just tearing it up, man. I mean, quick, unbelievably fast. I am seeing some greener grass, but all the dead stuff is gonna, you know. Oh, there's another shrimp. That's a bigger one. It's a good sign. I love seeing my shrimp come back. This is my Joshua tree. If you didn't know, that's my name, Josh. Pleasure to meet you. See, the grass took a little hit down here, but it's definitely not. See, I gave it a nice chop down too. So, but it looks like we're getting some green growth coming back. There's some green growth over here. It's not completely turning all. It's been a week, so this would have all been brown by now if we hadn't turned things around. Like everything would have just went brown. See our grass over there. So it looks like we'll just have to bring in some more sand, silt, and clay. This sand and silt, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the same stuff. And we fixed our leak over here too. It's the same stuff that's over here in the bottom. It's going to be in the pond and in the bottom of the creek. And it's in our E-Horizon. It's underneath. So here's a clay layer. This is the beginning of our A-Horizon. So underneath the clay is sand, silt from the reservoir. Alright. That's pea gravel. So we pea gravel underneath that, then we fill all that pea gravel up with the sand and silt till it gets up to past the pea gravel where it's a nice flat layer all filled in. Come over with a nice inch layer of clay, red clay over top of that, and then soil on top of this. So the soil will be put in after we test the creek and the pond. So we already did test one. We found a leak. We plugged it up with a Q-tip and then pond shielded it. So it feels pretty dry now. We'll just clip off that little Q-tip. I can feel the hole's been plugged. So hopefully that pond shield is set up. Everything else should, hopefully, we don't have any more leaks, but we'll fill it up and let it sit, make sure we don't. Once we fill this up, we'll turn the pump on, run water through the creek, make sure we don't have any leaks in the creek, let that set overnight, come back. If we don't have any leaks, what we do then is remove all the water from the creek, and then bring in the sand, silt, clay, not the bread clay, but the sand and silt and the mixed clay for the pond and creek. Put that down in there and bring in the rocks, and then figure out how we want the water to flow. And that should be fun. That's kind of the hardest part, really, is getting the moisture content correct. So it took me about a month to dial this in. It's very, it wicks a whole lot more water than you could ever imagine. It really does. It's quite amazing how much that sand and that silt from a freshwater creek, if you pull that out of a natural freshwater creek, and you take it and you put it, you lay it on, like, say, a tarp or your driveway, if you have a concrete driveway or asphalt driveway like what I have. I lay that sand and silt out on the driveway and let the sun cook out all that bad bacteria and bad biology. Then I sweep it up, put it in a wheelbarrow, add pea gravel to it, and I blast it with a water hose. And when you do that, all the organic matter floats up out of it. So you get all that organic matter out of that sand and silt, and all that organic matter floats up to the top, the little brown, black pieces. Then I take that just pure sand and silt and put it in the creek. And that stuff wicks water like you would not believe. You could just put a little line of it, just a little tiny line coming up over the creek into the soil pocket here, and it will wick that water up in and then disperse that water. So depending on the type of soil you have, if your soil will hold water and kind of distribute water, it pulls moisture into it, then the moisture will distribute itself. It stays wet all the time. Even though the creek is way over here, it comes up the creek wall, down into the soil pocket where the plants are, and down here, as long as it stays a little moist, the critters, look at the soil, it's just beautiful. Worms will run through it. There's one right there. So I don't like touching this, but the critters, the isopods, all the springtails, they want to be underneath this mulch layer on top of that soil. And they're the ones that are turning all this into smaller particles that our microscopic organisms can then start breaking down. There you go, buddy. You turn these in, the soil turns into little aggregates. Look at that, it's like a little aggregate. Falls apart, but it's really cool. This is just a walnut shell. Great little microbe home. Springtails, rove beetles, all different types of sized isopods, different species of isopods, different species of springtails, rove beetles. All these things are beneficial insects. When we crash the system, I can see a few fungus gnats. That's what we're going to get at the beginning. So when I first set this up, when nothing was, kicking in here, like the biological side was really had set in, you get fungus gnats, you get overwatering. But once everything sets in and you dial it in correctly, all that stuff goes away. So we're just getting rid of. We had a little fungus gnat bloom when we crashed the system about a week ago. So their larva was able to hatch and release. Plus we have this over here, which is the IMO that we were cooking for CO2 production in here. So as this cooks, actually temperature has gone back down into the warm zone. So this was around 120. When it gets up around 120, she's pulling some heat. She's pushing out some CO2. It's kind of like a bukashi, except we leave it open to aerate. So most bukashis you would wrap up in a plastic bag or seal it up into a airtight container, get all the air out, let that biology, work. Here I'm letting that biology work, but I'm releasing everything they release into the air so that the plants can eat that CO2, because heat produces CO2. And this thing gets, once it heats up, the microorganisms produce free CO2. So we just need to restart that. Simply, if we wanted to restart this and get it back up to temperature, all we have to do is add a little bit more wheat bran, maybe add a little bit of water and molasses to the water, a little lab, maybe a little JLF, some Jadam liquid fertilizer, which is just broken down plant matter in water, basically. It's just got microbes in it. Everything's got microbes in it. That's what we're doing. We're going to put microbes in there, and then we're going to feed them. And the sugar and the molasses is the food, like the wheat bran is something for them to attach. The sugar and the molasses is energy. And when you give them that, they reproduce and start working and start breaking down the wheat bran, breaking down whatever you have in there, kelp meal, whatever you're putting in there, alfalfa meal, rabbit shit. All these things we're just putting in there to be broken down by biology. It's just different stages of breakdown. It's kind of interesting when you get into learning how Mother Nature works. It's very freaking cool, and the system and how it works is genius, and it's super simple but extremely complicated. It's like so simple when you think about it, but then when you start getting into all the little details, it's extremely, like, more complicated than you could ever imagine. It goes deep. Quantum physics and all kind. I mean, it's just, you can go deep, very deep. We've never looked up, Schneider or what am I trying to think of? Shoot. Can't think of Steiner's thing now, where he uses the cow horn, stuff biology in a cow horn or cow shit, and you turn it to the moon. When the moon comes up, what is that called? Biodynamics? Is that what that is? It goes deep. There's so many ways to do this, but I think the key to, like, plant production, getting nutrient dense food and nutrient dense soil, is it comes down to environment, moisture content, and what type of light you have. And this is for indoors. Outdoors, of course, it's environment, it's the sun, and moisture. And if we can get moisture constantly, we can also get the biology that comes along with that from the fish and the turtles that are producing the bacteria that we need coming out of their butts that go into the creek and then get dissolved and eaten and wicked up into the soil pockets. I'm telling you, the biology content in the soil is off the chain, and it stays that way. That's the cool thing about it. It stays that way because the water content is consistent, and it's ever evolving. We've got this pad in here just catching. This is the only thing that we really have in there catching poo. as a filtration. We've got the Chemi Pure bag, we've got a couple of these in there, and then one filter pad. That's just catching right before it goes in, and then we'll take that pad, we'll either rinse it out or lay it up here and let the worms come up, devour it. But right now we don't need any more of that in here. The worms come up and devour. I mean, it's breaking down this so fast. And I'm gonna have to top off this again before we even get through with flour. I mean, it's just sunk. Like, it was up to here, and it's just poof, down to here now. Like, it's exposing the tree trunk. It's being broken down so fast. And I can tell that my soil, the moisture content took a hit, as we're getting, this can be fixed by simply putting in the proper bacteria and biology into the soil. So if we put like purple non-sulfur bacteria, which our buddy Mo sent us, we've got to go get it. Actually, I just got an email saying that it was at the post office. So I'm gonna go grab that. That purple non-sulfur bacteria will take care of all of this, because this rot here, this fungal disease, is coming from the soil. But it's because the soil is out of balance. I've seen it before, especially in these empress trees. These leaves show that imbalance quickly, and very you can see how yellowish they are, not as green as they were. It's all stems from the soil. We can fix that by simply putting in some purple non-sulfur bacteria, some lactic acid bacteria, different types of lactobacillus. All these things will produce oxygen. These are oxygen producing bacteria that can get in here and fix things. They can operate in a lot of water, they can operate in little water, they can just do the job that we're looking for them to do. And you got to think about these guys as, workers. These are workers. What is that? Are those pill bugs? Freaking pill bugs. Yeah, that might be why this plant is not growing properly. I had these pill bugs on this, they were on this, and this took a hit, and so they moved over to this. Go figure. Pill bugs I've seen these a few times in here, just basically on this tree here. And I was using that as a trap tree, but looks like from the crash they've moved over. I only see them on that one stem, but we don't like pill bugs. Like I said, it's going to take some time to get this system reset. It took me a year and 4 months to get it to where it was. It took us about a week and a half to crash it. Now it's going to take us probably not as long, but it's going to take a month, maybe 2 months to get back to normal. It'll probably be the next, like these plants here, will probably not recover completely, but I hope they recover to the point where we get good flower anyway, and then we'll reset, plant some new plants. Hopefully the system will be dialed back in by then, and we'll be good to go. And this one will be up and running too. So we'll have even more to look after. Fun. We went 30 minutes today. I guess that's a good or bad thing. I don't know. Feels good to me. So with that being said, I hope everybody enjoys their Wednesday. And we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.